Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? When I talked last week, feeling was even after Jameis's injury that they still had a chance to be a playoff team. Back-to-back losses now, tough losses. When you look at what they have ahead, do you think the Saints still are a playoff team?
Listen, the NFC is so top-heavy, but the 49ers seem they don't want to go away. I don't know what the Seahawks are going to do. It seems like a long trip for them. I still think the Saints, obviously until you're mathematically eliminated, now attrition and these injuries, you lost your quarterback, you're going to have to continue to step up. I don't think Siemian played poorly. They're not relying on the quarterback to dominate the offense for them, and you got to get Kamara on the field, but got to protect the quarterback. Can't give up sacks. Can't miss extra points. So I do think they have the potential. And Matt, one thing about the league is, hence why making sure your backups are efficient and ready to go. And I'm not just talking quarterback. I'm talking everywhere, and playing smart football, because I know fans think win times are pretty easy against easy teams, but look around the league when a team like the Jets can beat the Bengals, who at that point in time were the one seed in the AFC. Titans losing their best player, and they found a way to survive it. The Raiders losing, a couple guys and a coach, and they've started to fall back. The Chiefs, we had eliminated, they're not very good. Well, they're now got 6-4. So, yeah, it just takes a couple, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have lost a couple, and, Brady throws a few picks now, and a couple in the last couple, 2 or 3 weeks, and they're not going away because, they'll find a way to go on a streak. So, yeah, I do. I think the Saints can be one, but you can't play like that and miss kicks. It's the little things that end up being big things when it comes to missing out. I'm not sure a 9-win team makes the playoffs in the NFC this year.
Yeah, I'm going to be curious to see, too, how that math works. But, yeah, take us inside of a locker room, Sean, where it's hard to say that one play wins or loses a game for you when it's a 60-minute game. But when you miss two PATs like Brian Johnson did, or Deontay Harris fumbling the opening kickoff of the second half, which led directly to a touchdown for Tennessee on Sunday, how do the rest of the guys in the locker room react to that, where it's so clear that there's a guy that's a GOAT in a particular game?
Well, good teammates rally around him and try to help them know that you got to get through it, because you're going to have to rely on that teammate again. It's hard. You're pissed, yeah. And kickers take a wrath. Trust me. When kickers miss field goals or extra points, if they ever put the camera on the sideline, you'll see guys will walk off, but they're usually quite lonely afterwards. Now, whether that's for right or wrong, I think a lot of times, at least old school, the philosophy was, they don't practice. They just kick and they play cribbage and dominoes in the meeting rooms when everybody else is beaten. But they are valuable, and I kid, but they do. Their job is, and they don't get many chances. It's a high-pressure, high-leverage situations on every kick, even if you got a 14-point lead, because teams can come back. So I think initially you're irritated, when a guy misses a kick, or if I'm not mistaken, before the 2-point conversion, wasn't there a illegal procedure? Or a penalty?
Adam Troutman he false started. Yeah.
And let me extend. I'm gonna get to that in a second. It also depends on the penalty, is why I'm going there, or the missed opportunity. A guy's wide open and drops the ball because he takes his eyes off. Nobody feels worse than the player, especially if he's a guy. And I'll tell you, a lot has to do with the two during the practice week, Matt. And over the course of time, you watch a guy and how he works. If a guy's working his butt off and he's a hard worker and always on time, staying late, studying, doing all the things, whether you're a kicker or anybody else, players respect that and understand that human error happens. And good teammates, the best thing to do, and good quarterbacks, a guy drops the ball, you go back to him. If you got another chance to kick and it's the third time, then you go to him again. And if it happens 3 or 4 times, kickers usually don't have jobs if they're not veterans who've been doing it a while. They'll audition 4 or 5 more. But the penalty matters. I personally, to me, it's inexcusable. Inexcusable if you're an interior lineman when the ball's right there. If you can't hear, I'm not saying that was the reason, watch the movement of the football. If you can, I know that's part of human error too. You can't, receivers, for instance, if a receiver jumps off sides, that is one of those. That's a controllable error that you can't hear. You're going on ball movement anyway. It's inexcusable. That's just lack of focus and lack of preparation and lack of attention span. Those things, and you just can't do it. So I would imagine those self-inflicted but also controllable mistakes. Right? Listen, a coordinator calls a play that they guess right on and they tackle you for a 2-yard loss. Okay, but if the head coach all of a sudden it's 3rd and 1 and dials up a play, or 4th and 1 and goes for it when you're down 2 and you need a 45-yard field goal and decides to go for it, and the kicker misses, well, they may be mad at the kicker, but a lot of times, like, all we needed, or they don't go for, they go for it on a 4th down, they don't kick, and you get stuffed, and you have a Pro Bowl kicker. You're like, well, dude, what are you doing? Now, those are extreme measures, obviously, but the penalty or the miss or how the guy works during the week and what kind of pro he is, and secondly, the inexcusable penalties. I personally, myself, my head explodes when I see a left guard or a right tackle jump off sides. I don't care who you're blocking. You go on movement. That's what you do. Those are things that you got to control. I understand you may have a Pro Bowler over you. I don't care. Physical is going to happen. You get beat, that's fine. But don't beat us by a controllable error. So those are problems that must be controlled, and you take into account what kind of worker and what kind of attention the guy's paying during the week.
Sean Salisbury's with us. Trevor Siemian's, I think you alluded to it a bit. His stat line looks good. He hasn't thrown an interception the last 2 weeks. It's not that they're losing because of him. The flip side could also be true that they're not winning because of him either.
Right.
Are the Saints content to stick with Trevor Siemian, or should they maybe give a look to Taysom Hill, who could bring a different dimension to the offense?
I think that well, first off, and I'll ask you guys how they feel there. I mean, I'll ask you, Matt, how they feel in New Orleans about this. Did they think Jameis Winston was winning them games?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, and that's very fair. And the answer is probably not. You know, I think they were starting to loosen the reins a little, right?
Right.
You and I talked about this. Like, Sean wanted to cure him of the interception, like to protect the football, and then let him expand. And that was starting. It felt like that was starting to happen.
Yeah, and we had discussed that it would eventually have to happen too for them to be successful. So, like I said, this team hasn't been. They've been on don't turn it over quarterback heavy reliant, but they haven't been on quarterback. You've got to throw for 400 or 380 each week and complete 80% of your balls for us to win. That hasn't been their philosophy. It's been defense. Make a few plays, protect the football, run the football, get Kamara involved, and last week, of course, Mark Ingram, and get rolling. And I said last week also, I said I would stick with Trevor Siemian last week, and they did.
Yeah.
I would probably give it one more week. If they lose again and you're not winning because of him or his play is not sparking an extra gear, then you say, well, let's change it up and see if we can get a spark with him ready. He's used to being a backup. He's got some starting experience. You're not going to hurt his feelings, nor should you worry about that. You've got to find out where that spark comes from. And if it comes from a guy who's running and throwing and doing it all, it's a different look, why not? I have no problem running him out there and starting him again, but I also have no problem if I don't see the spark where he's become a reason why we're moving the ball and their defense is having trouble. If he's not part of that, then I have no problem going to Taysom Hill. But my guess is that it's okay to start him and see what they do one more game. But as I told you, you can't get into a 3 or 4 game skid. And then the question you ask me 2 weeks from now, are they a playoff team? The answer will be vehemently, the answer will be no. Yeah. So I'm okay with Siemian as long as he continues to protect it. But if the spark's not there and it's just kind of blah, then you may need Taysom Hill to start creating some stuff with his athleticism.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.